All right. Now, what do you see there? What does everybody see? What do you see, Peter?
I see a slim, trim, fit Andy Ruiz.
So I got to ask the question. This is clearly not a real picture of
Right.
Andy Ruiz.
Right.
But if it was,
Mm-hmm.
do you think, and I want to ask everybody in the chat this, I want people who are watching after this goes up, who are not watching live, if Andy Ruiz actually looked like this, do you think that he'd be getting more respect from everyone, from the boxing community, from everybody? Do you think that the fact that he doesn't look like this, despite the fact that he already knocked Joshua out, do you think that the fact that he doesn't look like this and looks how he actually looks is the reason why he kind of still doesn't get the respect of a guy who just knocked out the guy who owns 3/4 of the heavyweight title?
You really think he's not getting the respect?
I still think a lot of people, and I even include myself, right? I still think there's a lot of people who just attribute it to the fluke factor, right? That's what I think. I think there's a lot of people who
The lucky punch factor.
yeah, like, oh, where Joshua wasn't quite ready and blah, 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 and those types of things. I really think that that's kind of where people are. And I think that it has something to do with the fact that he's got the type of frame that doesn't look like a fighter.
I mean, it works for him. Listen, I've always said Andy Ruiz, you could easily claim that he's an undefeated fighter. I mean, the Joe Parker loss in New Zealand, all right, a split decision or majority decision loss to Joe Parker for that WBO heavyweight title in New Zealand is questionable. I mean, his only loss is questionable. And we even had Evander Holyfield, right, tell us clearly prior to the fight that don't underestimate him and that he wouldn't want to fight him if that was an option, he wouldn't want to fight him. So people in boxing, right, no one in boxing has looked at Andy Ruiz as a non-competitive or potential. I don't know if anyone looked at anyone other than Deontay Wilder as the person that was going to defeat Joshua, right? And yes, aesthetically, if we were going to say, well, out of these three guys, who do you think is going to do it? Look, the argument can be made that just wasn't going to be Joshua's night. The argument can be made that there might have been problems going in and that Jarrell Miller might have been the guy that caught him, right? The argument can be made that we saw this coming in the Povetkin fight. But Povetkin didn't have the speed and the accuracy and the power that people underestimate that Andy Ruiz has. So, aesthetically, he doesn't look like the prototypical heavyweight champion, the chiseled body, right? The ripped frame, the big, hulking type of lean heavyweight. But no one in boxing, I think, ever would say that Andy Ruiz couldn't fight. You know what I mean? Or that he didn't, or that he wasn't of the level. I mean, like I said, you can argue he's undefeated. I mean, he's not, but you can argue it.
Yeah, I mean, the hand speed is real.
I'd like to see a Parker rematch. I think he stops Parker in a rematch.
I think he knocks Parker out.
Do that. You know what? Instead of New Zealand, do that in New York. Do it at the Staples Center.
Yeah,
do that one at the Staples Center, and he stops Joe Parker.
Yeah. I think that I asked that question because I'm kind of catching myself.
And sorry for rambling.
Oh, rambles are fine.
Anyone agree with me?
Yes, many people do. I asked that question kind of calling myself out on that because I'm like, why is it that I'm like, I totally believe that Josh was going to knock him out in the rematch. I totally believe that. Right. I mean, I wouldn't be the most shocked man in the world if Ruiz repeated it and beat him again, but I believe that Josh was going to knock him out. But I'm kind of questioning myself because I know as a fight fan, I'm looking at this guy. This guy has fantastic hand speed. He really has really good footwork. If you were to take him with the exact same skills that he has, I'm not even saying make him faster. I'm not saying make him more tough. I'm not saying make him any of those things. the exact same skill level that he has right now, speed, everything, and you put him in that body that we just showed, I think that nobody would be talking about it was a lucky. Nobody would be saying that. Everybody would literally be saying, man, that Andy Ruiz guy, man, Joshua's gonna, he's gonna maul Joshua. If he looked like that, they'd be giving him a chance to beat Wilder, and almost nobody gives him a chance to beat Wilder.
Because it's the aesthetics, and it's the perception of what athleticism means, because stereotypically athletes are, well-oiled, lean and mean machines. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's what when we see our athletes, that's what we see. But it wasn't one punch that ended Joshua's night, and Joshua did end the night on his feet. Okay, it was this. You could see right here.
Yeah,
it was this.
He took it.
That ended Joshua's night.
He took it.
Lack of heart.
Yeah. And and we don't know what else might have been going on.
Well, no, but I know that he basically did not want to continue.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, he didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
And he was very gracious and almost happy to be out of there. He seemed relieved. Seemed relieved. We've seen this before. Okay, body language. When and we talked about this with Tyson Fury outside of the interview, that and I wish we had it on interview. But, he agreed that Deontay's body language after their fight was of a fighter that felt he had been beaten.
Oh, man, anybody that didn't see that is blind. I mean, he absolutely, when that draw was read, there was such relief, some surprise in his demeanor.
Even a little shame.
Yes, 100%.
So
100%.
So, but there was respect. And all the respect to Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. This is a sport. It's a combat sport. Okay. Andy Ruiz did a superb job. You and I spent a lot of time with Manny Robles this past weekend as well.
Absolutely.
We spoke to him. We interviewed him. Which are we going to talk about the one thing that, are we going to do it now? I mean, are we going to create a video out of it?
I think we should save that for next week.
Okay. So, or we
have a juicy conversation for you guys to have, for you guys around Ruiz Joshua too. So you're gonna want to tune in for that. The reason why we
look for that video. I mean, I think we should voice that video tomorrow.
Yeah, the reason why we don't want to do it now is because it could be a very in-depth conversation, both between Peter and I, as well as people who are watching and listening on the chat.
But it's pretty interesting. When it was brought to our attention, it was like, oh, like that makes sense.
Makes some sense. And I'll tell you the truth, the context of it even goes beyond some of the things that Steve Farhood brought up today earlier on the show. Right. So it should be an interesting thing.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe so that you can see when this comes out, because I think we're not going to wait till next Wednesday, because this is a fluid topic, this fight. And I think that's something that we kind of have to get out, I think, Brian, prior to the weekend. But look, we going back to that point, we talked with Manny Robles, and he's going to prepare Ruiz the same way he prepared him for the first fight. And we both talked about how Ruiz made some mistakes. Yeah. He did sit there in the pocket, not moving his head. He was susceptible to eating a big right hand. Yeah. But his hand speed made up for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
His footwork made up for that.
Yeah, and his chin.
And Joshua wasn't himself. I will say that.
Yeah, I don't think Joshua was himself.
But Ruiz did his job.
He did his job, and it's
came to fight.
On him. It is good on him because he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah,
got up off the deck. Even in the round that he stopped Joshua, he took a mammoth shot. But even before that, so he earned it. Nobody gave him that. He earned that fight.
He earned it 100%. No matter what the circumstances are. Let me tell you something. No one goes into a fight 100%. You're coming off of, most times in these types of world title fights, you're coming off an 8-week camp. People get sore backs, sore shoulders. Sparring. I mean, hands. There's always something.
Yeah.
The weight cut, in this case, didn't have to worry about the weight cut. But what I'm saying is guys don't always go in 100%.
Yeah.
It's really hard in a combat sport to prepare for it, because the very nature in which you prepare is by combat.
Yeah.
So, no one's ever 100%. So, look, maybe Joshua was dealing with some things and maybe they didn't know how to back out of that. But you know what? We got to see the rematch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Arjun Ganapathy, I hope I pronounced that right, says that, there are some Nigerian fanboys of Anthony Joshua who believe that he was drugged in the US and that's why he lost. He says that obviously that caused that delusional, which I would agree. The conspiracy theorists are ridiculous. That's the type of stuff that's great for a Instagram image with like a big bottle of pills or something sitting next to Anthony Joshua looking all,
Right.
phased out. But it doesn't really, I think, even warrant anything more than that. It's ridiculous. Um, he wasn't, for whatever reason, he wasn't ready to fight. I don't think he was drugged. May have buzzed from a earlier sparring session in his camp, maybe that, but I don't think he was drugged.
Listen, I'm going to tell you how quickly and how easy it is to not be yourself. Javier Centeno, who trains a lot of my fighters,
Yeah, I already
um,
know where you're going.
he was doing mitts with one of my fighters, Nika Sekniashvili,
Hmm.
168 pounder from Georgia, the country, big puncher. And Nika clipped him on the jaw. And Javier had a headache for the entire weekend. And he said, finally, at one point, he yawned and he heard a big click and like the jaw released, and then immediately that headache went away. Getting hit in the head,
Hmm.
you don't know you don't know how people react. You don't know. I mean, these are heavyweights,
Yeah.
right? And some guys that are big punchers. The point I'm making is, yeah, maybe he was hurt going in.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
maybe there's some truth to Joshua's father confronting Eddie. We're not going to know.
No,
The
maybe
bottom,
not until the documentary comes out.
I mean, look, you guys sign non-disclosures going into camps like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why you never heard Joey Dueco confirm or deny anything.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
immediate liquidated damages.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.